Hello and welcome to the First Issue Club comic book podcast. We're your weekly reading club who, just like Sue Storm, we love a good read. I'm Mike.
And I am Vargas.
We are missing one Greg Lichtig today.
Our fearless leader, lost at sea.
Salute.
He's got to count all the grains.
Make some money on grain, baby. Bring us back that sweet wheat cheddar.
Wheat cheddar. It's my favorite breakfast cereal.
Yeah. What a week we've had in comic books. New York Comic Con was this past weekend. We might talk about some of that on today's show.
I think I've got one or two big things out of there.
Yeah. But you know, some of it you've maybe heard too much of, so we won't cover it ad nauseum. I've got a couple takes on a couple little things. I did have a tiny slip of paper at some point, but
it's back there.
All right, I don't necessarily need it. They might be in the vault.
Your mind is a steel trap.
Thank you. Hey, to keep all this knowledge in it as I gaze upon my comic book boxes, holding all my collection, a steel trap that's got all these pages held within it. Do you feel like when you read a comic book or a series, like, are you basically like, oh yeah, I remember this character, they appeared in this series, or does all of it just kind of like blink out of your mind?
I retain most of it.
Do you?
Unfortunately.
I'm bad about retaining stuff like that.
Yeah, I can't do like long division or remember if I brushed my teeth this morning.
Right.
But I can remember that Batman shot a guy with the God bullet in Final Crisis.
Yeah. Are you also good at like watching a movie one or two times and then like quoting all the things?
Yes.
I cannot do that for the life of me. That just blows my mind, the fact that people remember so many lines from movies.
As that guy, it's not useful at all in any stretch of the imagination. In fact, people find it extremely annoying when you quote The Simpsons all the time.
I will say there are certain people whose sense of humor is like regurgitating things they've heard.
Yeah.
You're not one of those guys.
I'm not one of those guys. I had to learn to not be one of those guys.
You grew out of it.
I did. Yeah, it's not a good trait to have.
Yeah.
But, you know, different strokes for different folks, I guess.
Exactly right. I was kind of lately I've been thinking, why don't I throw a party when I hit 10,000 comic books? Have I talked to you about this before?
No.
I think I'm going to have a party over here.
Dope.
When I hit 10K comics. Shout out to 10K. And I'll do a keg.
Hell yeah.
Beers. I'll have to think of some like fun, interactive comic book facts or things. Or like some games for people who come over to just like casually like write a guess on a whiteboard or put it in a hat and do some like goofy prizes and things. But it'll just be, I haven't had a house party in a long time and I haven't had an excuse to. And
how close are you?
I'm like 1,000 books away. I'm just under 9,000.
Oh, me too.
Yeah. We might do it should we have a 10K party?
Dude. Greg's got to be there, if not close, right?
Yeah, he's probably close.
We'll have a 10K party. A First Issue Club 10K party.
And we'll fly out 10K beers.
Hell yeah.
You got to join.
But you got to bring 10,000 beers. One for each book.
That's right. We expect a smorgasbord of beverages.
That would be a blast.
Yeah.
Totally.
So just an idea.
A good one.
Thank you.
All right. I dug up a little bit of news in lieu of our boy not being here.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll see it. Greg is normally the news guy.
Yeah.
So forgive us if we side tangent quite a bit this episode.
Yeah, but we just have such a good rapport.
Exactly right.
That we can't help it.
It's not that we can't stay on track.
Correct. It's not that brain thing that I have at all. All right, so we'll talk about the hard to talk about one first.
Yeah.
I showed you the new Spawn costume.
Yes.
Do you have thoughts, hot takes on the Spawn costume? For those of you out there in listener world, it is mech inspired. I mean,
Yeah.
it looks very Rob Liefeld 90s.
Yeah.
It's almost like
It's like a cross between that vibe and like a Mighty Morphin Power Rangers.
yeah,
Japanese anime inspired
Yeah, like if-
cyberpunk sort of thing.
like if Voltron was human size.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. It looks really rad.
It looks really cool.
Yeah.
I like that they're like changing his hair and making it a little bit
More modern.
more modern. He looks less like a army guy. I
Yep.
know that Spawn is like an army guy, but
Yep.
I like it. I think it's a cool redesign.
Yep. With how many different spawns they have at this point,
Yeah,
yeah, do something more modern with the guy.
right.
I'm all in.
I think it'll be interesting to see if this like is just for this book, like if because it's for a new Spawn book called Rat City
Yeah.
that's going to revolve. I imagine, given the title, that it's going to be more of like a Gotham Central kind of.
Yeah.
It's the world of Spawn and not necessarily a Spawn book.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering if that's gonna just be like, oh, this is the first appearance, and then new costume is gonna roll over to the main title, or if this is gonna be kind of separated.
I think separate.
I would imagine.
I think we're gonna have our own like Blade Runner Spawn over here
Dope.
for Rat City.
Hopefully, we get into the Spawn verse.
Yep.
Okay, cool. Well, I didn't know if you'd have any hot takes on the Spawn costume, but it does look pretty rad if you want to Google it.
Yeah. And we're excited about the writer who is I'm spacing on her name. Is it Erica Schultz?
Erica Schultz, thank you. Yeah. First woman to write Spawn.
Yeah, which is great.
Yeah.
The I'm just remembering the Todd McFarlane tweet where he was just like, announcement, female writing Spawn. The first time a female has written Spawn.
A femoid writes Spawn.
And I was like, this just doesn't read right. I think,
Oh, boy.
yeah, I think a lot of men do this, especially maybe of Todd's generation, and don't realize they're doing it.
Yeah.
But the problem, if you're listening and you're like, what's wrong with that statement? To me, when I hear female, it's like you're talking about like creatures and animals.
Yes. Exactly.
It's just the gender, like none of the human.
Yeah. Right.
It just has a poor ring to it off it. And maybe there are people more, tuned in than me that have more reasons why you should or shouldn't say that.
No,
and
man.
Maybe it's okay, but like when I saw that, I was just like, Todd, no.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
Have someone younger announce that.
it's got major like Reddit vibes.
Yes.
Where
Yeah.
It's like
These females.
went on a date with a female last night.
Uh-huh.
Like you probably live in your mom's basement, don't
Yep.
you? Yeah.
So, grown woman who's a human in her own right, Erica Schultz, is writing Rat City, and I love Hallows Eve that she's doing, which is a Spider-Man tie-in.
Yeah.
And I think that character is so stinking cool.
Yeah.
And those books have been really fun, and I don't know how many issues it was intended to be, but it just keeps going and going and going, and I think the reception of that character has just been like fantastic. So it's really
I almost
cool.
bought issue 1 just for the character design.
Yeah.
Like the character design is so top
It's
notch.
cool. There's a couple different Spider-Man tie-ins, like that Red Goblin book with Normie.
Yeah.
That book just keeps going and going too, and I'm like, man, it's great.
That's Alex, is it
Packnadell.
Packnadell.
I don't know how you say his last
Yeah.
name, but I think it's Packnadell.
who did All Against All.
Yeah.
Which is like
really great book.
so killer.
Yeah.
And Gold Goblin too is still going, right?
I think it is.
Wild.
That one might have wrapped up.
Good. Less Spider-Man. I guess I'm J. Jonah Jameson now. Okay, new Spawn costume, cool. One of the big headlines that I thought was really interesting out of NYCC
Yeah.
was that DC is releasing the other version of Death in the Family. So
It's crazy that it's been on ice for this long.
yeah, it has the same feeling to me when Marvel was like, oh, we're finishing Captain America White,
Yeah, right.
right?
Yeah, you're just like, that idea?
Yeah. So for those of you who don't know, Death in the Family was the story famously where you could call in and vote whether Jason Todd lived or died.
Yeah.
And
These savage DC fans.
yeah, they killed him off. Joker beat him to death with a crowbar. So presumably this alternate one is going to be the one where he lives.
Yeah.
Of course, they have announced a facsimile version of 437 or whatever where he dies to coincide with the release of this alternate story. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see this other version of this famous story where Jason lives.
I know I've seen, I think that page went up for auction at some point.
Okay, sure. Did Todd buy it?
Maybe. He's the sort of guy who
If I were betting
yeah.
without knowing anything else, he's who I would bet.
I can't believe he bought the that home run baseball.
Oh yeah.
That's got to be worth jack shit now, right?
Yeah, of course. No one said he was a smart guy.
What a fucking bummer.
Some other news. Gen V got renewed for season 2. I'm pretty excited about that. That's the Boys spinoff on Amazon Prime.
Nice.
It's focused on a school for superheroes in the Boys universe and focused on a group of students that are uncovering the sordid secrets of the school they attend.
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool. Pretty stoked about that. I love that show. Love that universe.
Yeah, right.
The other thing I wanted to talk to you about, I don't think we talked about this yet, and I wish Greg was here for it, but we are based in Kansas City. The only news in Kansas City right now is that Travis Kelce is maybe dating Taylor Swift.
Uh-huh.
Right? And the rumbling that keeps going around.
Everyone acts like it's their brother dating Taylor Swift.
Yeah.
It's like, this is huge news for me.
Of course it is.
This is like,
Taylor Swift has been to Kansas City.
something happened to me, guys. Taylor Swift is dating Travis Kelce.
A football player of the city I live in.
A man in my town.
But the rumor that keeps going around and has only picked up steam is that Taylor will be playing Dazzler in Deadpool 3.
I keep hearing that, yeah.
And it got reinforced because she was at a Chiefs game with Hugh Grant and Ryan Reynolds.
Yeah, who both star in...
Who both star in Deadpool 3, currently
right.
in the process of like filming or something.
I think editing. I think it's done filming.
Well, it's
maybe
in the process of being made.
Some things happening with it.
Yeah. I love this idea.
Yeah.
I think it would be so much fun
Yeah.
to see her show up because she has acted in other things before.
I'm trying to think of if I've seen her in anything.
I know for a fact she was in an episode of New Girl.
Uh-huh.
She shows up as like not herself.
Not as Taylor Swift.
Yeah, but she has shown up in cameos and done a couple of other things.
Well, they had Brad Pitt do like a throwaway role in the first Deadpool movie, didn't they?
No, in Deadpool 2, he shows up as the invisible guy.
Yeah.
And he gets shocked by the thing.
And then you see his face.
Yeah, you see his face.
Yeah. So I think they've got a history of just like showing you 1 second of someone like uber famous.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming it's like the quickest cameo you'll ever see, if it even happens.
Yeah.
That book is like both of those books, Dazzler #1 and Dazzler's first appearance, which is like X-Men mid-100s.
Sure.
Are both kind of going up in value, but they're not like colossally high.
Yeah.
I'd say like there was a time a couple years I bought Dazzler in like a 9.4 or a 9.6 #1, and I think I got it for like $45 or something.
Yeah, that sounds about right. I was going to say probably a $50 or $60 book now.
And now it's I think it's up around there. Maybe even like $20 more.
Yeah.
But the X-Men one, her proper first appearance has always been way pricier.
I mean, it's X-Men in the hundreds.
Yeah. I think I got a 7 for like $80.
Sure.
it might be right around the same price.
Yeah.
That's always been kind of a weird one just because it's like Dazzler was a character that everyone was kind of like, disco, corny.
Yeah.
And is, over time, it's like, we love Dazzler and we never see her in anything. Like, she's so cool and quirky and weird. And then, so I don't know. I do like that character.
I like Dazzler a lot.
Yeah.
Great. It's a character who got reinvented very well,
Yeah.
for sure.
Leah Williams wrote that really recent book that was like
Executioners.
Is that what it was
Right?
Yeah.
Exterminators.
Exterminators. That book was so cool.
It was so good.
Yeah.
So good. That's all the news I had. Do you have anything?
I had a couple short things.
Let's hear it.
One was just a thing I saw and thought was really cool was that Hot Topic does this thing called Her Universe.
Okay.
Have you ever heard of it?
No. But why wouldn't you call it Universe?
Oh, because it sounds like hearse, like you're driving a...
It's Hot Topic.
Yeah, that's true. It is on brand,
It
isn't
goes like 3 ways.
But the deal with Her Universe is that fans design clothes inspired by like nerd culture stuff.
Sure.
So it might be like video game characters or comic book characters.
Yeah, yeah.
And I got an email about the Her Universe winners of like the Captain Marvel edition. And then so they take these 2 young designers
Uh-huh.
who won a contest, and then Hot Topic actually makes their clothes
Cool.
and sells them, in stores and online. And I thought that was just a cool like opportunity thing and a rad thing for women and designers.
Yeah.
And we're doing like, they do these girl power, female empowerment sort of commercials and things for the movies. And then it's like, how did you do much for women?
Yeah, right. The commercial was directed by a man.
Yeah, and it's like
starring a guy, and
like everybody jumps in on this like marketing train of like, we're good because we're printing this T-shirt, but it's like none of the money goes to like women making anything. You're just like loading Disney's pockets and your own pockets with this stuff.
Yeah.
So it was cool for them to be like, we're gonna tie in our promotion and our materials for the Marvels with this Her Universe thing that
Very cool.
does designers. So I thought that was rad.
Yeah.
And then my next thing is maybe more of a conversation here. So I got an email from Shortboxed
Yeah, they're doing auctions.
today or yesterday that they're adding auctions
Yeah.
to the app and platform.
Yeah.
And we've talked about Shortbox a handful of times on here.
Yeah.
And I think I'm at a point with Shortboxed where I'm like, you couldn't have made a better looking app
Sure.
that I feel more confident in. If I buy something on it, I'm going to get it.
Yeah.
Like, I trust it.
Definitely.
The part about it that doesn't work is the selling community. They list books for hundreds of dollars over what fair market value is.
Yeah.
And Shortbox did an update where they put color indicators on things
Yes.
that was like red is bad, yellow is good, or yellow is like all right,
FMV. Yeah.
and then green is like this is a fair cost for this book. This is a good price for this book. Even the greens are sometimes $100 more than what you could win a book for on eBay.
For sure.
But you don't have to deal with the auction, right?
Yeah.
Even with that update, it's been like it's barely changed the way people list things.
Yeah.
Like I'll look for something on eBay and I won't find decent auctions for it, or I'll bookmark a couple buy it nows and look at what some things have sold for recently, and then I'll move over to Shortboxed, and the Shortbox prices are just always there's never an option for me to buy on there. They're always outrageous. And they've also done this make offer thing, but it's like if your listing price is $400 more than it should be, I don't want to have a bullshit back and forth with you.
Right. Well, so to me, Shortboxed has always been like that's the place you should go to sell that $15,000,
Sure.
like Captain America 1 in a 9.9 or whatever the fuck, right?
Yeah.
Like,
It
that's
makes,
where you should go to do that.
it makes maybe more sense as a stock X for comic books,
Yeah.
where like really rare Jordans are going up on here and people are making offers, and if you own the shoes you can meet that offer,
Right.
but it's like prestige stuff.
Yeah.
I think they launched their app, maybe needed more purchases to make it sustainable,
That's exactly what I think happened.
and so they let people start listing raw books.
Yeah.
And now the thing is like filthy with really crappy raw comics that are all overpriced.
Yeah.
So it's impossible to like find anything good. I think the community being unwilling to list things for a even somewhat reasonable price is like destroying Shortboxed, even though like I just think there's maybe not a scenario wherein you can do this better than someone like an eBay already does it.
Yeah. I think the people who were excited and still are excited for Shortboxed are speculators.
Yeah.
I think that's what it is. It's people that
It's a make a buck community.
Yeah,
Not
for
a,
sure.
not a get a deal community.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's got to be somewhere in the middle with some give, and maybe the auctions bring some heat to that, but
I don't think
at
they
the
will.
same time, I think a lot of the auctions are going to start at like unreal high prices.
Well, even if they start at fair market value,
Yeah.
you're not going to be able to compete with Whatnot,
yeah.
where like, okay, everything starts at $5. Like, Whatnot is where you go to unload your comics.
Yes, this is very true. Whatnot is like, I have to get rid of stuff. Like, hey, this book goes for $60. One guy on here wants it for $20. Great,
Yeah.
you're getting it for $20.
Yeah.
I've gotten some great stuff on Whatnot.
I joined a Whatnot auction that was specifically titled $1 slabs.
Wow, $1 start slabs.
And the note was, do not buy anything for over $20 in here.
Yeah,
Because they were just trying to, like, the whole idea was they're trying to get rid of stuff
yeah.
and help people start a
Slab
collection.
It's just
Yeah.
like fun to. I'll say there are some graded comics that I have that now it's like, why do I have this?
Sure.
But at the time, it's just fun to have a slabbed comic.
Yeah.
So it's just like, this one's $20. Like, great.
Yeah.
And it's like, no one's going to pay $20 for this.
Yeah.
Again, which is like $5 less than it costs to even slab something.
Yeah. I got a Moon Knight 18 and an 8.5 for like $17, right?
Yeah.
Because, like, whatever.
Oh, you know what I was really excited about? I don't know if I posted this or not. I got Pretty Deadly #1
Hell yeah.
in a 9.8 the other day for $18.
Hell yeah. I love that book.
Yeah, it's such a cool book.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things that's just like, I've thought about slabbing my copy of it just out of like sentimentality, and it's just like one of the cooler like indie books I think I've ever read.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, I can buy one for $7 less than it costs to actually slab it. So
Totally good deal.
I might as well guarantee myself a 9.8
Yeah.
and do it that way. So I was stoked to have gotten it, but really surprised that that book wasn't like a more sought after thing, or that there wasn't like a second person who bid on it or anything. It was Emma Rios
And
does
Kelly
the
Sue
art,
DeConnick.
and then Kelly Sue DeConnick did the story.
Yeah.
What a fucking team!
Yeah, that book was incredible.
Yeah.
I mean, that whole story. Did you read the follow-up, The Rat?
I did.
That was awesome.
Yeah, it was
like,
cool.
so good. Yeah, that's a no-brainer. I would buy that for $17 7 days a week.
But that's the thing. I think you've got like, at least I can speak for myself. I'm kind of like an eBay vulture,
Yeah.
where every night before I go to bed, I'll zoom through the stuff that ends at like 7 a.m. to like 4 p.m. the next day, just because it ends at a weird time during business hours. And then I've got a job where I can like switch over to my phone every once in a while and bid on something.
Yeah.
And I get tons of stuff for like, sometimes it's $100 less than fair market value. Sometimes it's like right at fair market value.
Yeah.
And I'm stoked to get it at a fair price even.
Sure.
But that's the kind of buyer I am. And I think that's the kind of buyer a lot of people are. And that's just like not what Shortbox, to get back to our conversation, it's not what Shortbox is selling. So I think they're trying to do a cool thing, and they're trying to like make it a smaller space that's content rich with just the things that you're looking for.
Yeah.
So the filters can be catered right towards it, right?
Sure.
There are some things that you just can't filter on eBay because it's built for everything, not for just comic books.
Definitely.
And that's part of like the strength in Shortbox, but they need the sellers to get on board with like, I have to like, if I'm not here to just list my collection and show it off.
Well, they need to go one way or the other. They need to be the prestige place for comics, where like, if you come here, you're gonna buy that $1,000 comic.
Everything gets listed over $100.
Yeah.
Like there's no like,
or they need to like break it out and be like, prestige Shortbox is its own thing.
Yep.
And we also have like dollar bin bundles.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep. Sure.
I don't know, because I don't see any of that. Like,
right.
I've never opened Shortboxed and been like, oh, I'm interested in that.
Mm-hmm.
It's all way, way, way too pricey.
And then they've got their dudes on the homepage a lot of times.
Yeah.
Has videos of guys who are like, "What's up, Shortbox family? Like, I'm unloading like 20 assets today, and we're gonna like, I'm listing all this great stuff. This one is specking like unbelievably."
Boo.
And they're guys talking at you like they're gonna make a buck off of, like, they're all just like disingenuine hype guy. I want seller. I want followers on social media.
Yeah.
And I want your money. And it just doesn't. There are some things about like the sellers and the people that they're advertising on it that just don't feel like cool people. Whereas like a lot of what you're getting out of Whatnot is like a really genuine experience with, like, there's the live chat going on and people really are there to just like unload their crap. So it's like, oh, you know, this book's worth nothing and I've got to sell my stuff. But like, man, was this story cool, or this cover cool, or this moment from this trade really cool?
Yeah.
And then people in the chat are popping off about that.
But then somebody buys it for $1.
And someone buys it for $1, but I do love the like personal aspect of it.
Definitely.
And this is very like you said, it's like clean and modern and white space, and it does feel like it's a place built for like, you're going to have a really great, safe, validated experience buying $500 comics.
And you're going to pay for it.
And you're going to pay for it. But instead, everyone's got like $20 comics on there listed at like $200 a pop.
Yeah.
And you just like, it's not worth your time filtering through like the things that are, you know, 500% of what they should cost.
Yeah, exactly.
To find like the thing you're looking for.
And then not buy it because it's $400 more than it should be.
Yeah. Well, enough venting.
Good.
Let's get into some comics we read this week.
Dope. I know we read at least one of the same book. You want to go over that one first?
Yeah, let's do it.
So we both read, is it Zoe or is it Zoe?
I've always said Zoe, but now that you say that, I don't know anymore.
Okay. Well, it's Ms. Thorogood's. Zoe Thorogood wrote / Back to School.
Yep.
She is the creator of It's Lonely at the Center of the Earth.
Have you read it?
I have not. I know it got all the accolades.
It's one of the best graphic novels I've ever read. I got like chills saying that. It's like so good.
That's what I've heard.
Yeah.
That's what I've heard. Yeah, I know. I'm really a fake comic fan when you really get down to it.
And it's definitely not. It's interesting to see Zoe Thorogood, right, doing this comic book, and she's done a couple, like she did Rain.
Yes.
but it's just funny to see someone do like monthlies and floppies who also wrote this like work of art.
Right. Really prestige.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly right. Like there's I just don't feel like there's a lot of crossover of like a lot of the people who do like the Fantagraphics graphic novels, like you
Yeah.
don't see them publish like monthly things.
Right. I think she nailed it, though. I think you probably think she nailed it, too.
Yes. And I also like I think her art from It's Lonely at the Center of the Earth to Rain to this book
Uh-huh.
looks like it's evolved into more of a I don't want to more of like a expected comic book style. I didn't
Yes.
want to say I was trying to find the right word. I didn't want to say palatable.
Yeah.
I didn't want to say cuz her work is like gorgeous and unique.
Right.
But it's starting to feel more like what you would expect to see when you're flipping open like a normal indie comic book or even like a Marvel and DC book that's a little more like punk rock and
Yeah.
on the outskirts.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's still, and I think she's a great pick for Hack Slash specifically.
Yeah.
Because the character is so like punk rock. Like
Yep.
that is very much the aesthetic.
Yep.
And I think Tim Seeley, the co-creator of Hack Slash, probably had a lot to do with like picking her
Yeah.
to do this. Yeah, the art in here is absolutely gorgeous. I loved the use of color.
Yep.
Like there's a lot of really, really bold neon
Yep.
in a book that is traditionally like very black and white and red.
Yeah.
Cassie Hack is very much a goth chick. So you get a lot of those like dark tones, but
Yep.
you get pages like this in this book that are like yellow and pink almost entirely.
I thought the thing we're communicating here with like her heart beating rapidly and vibrating and then dripping and oozing and then becoming like abstract art
Yeah.
like is such a cool motif of like explaining like shock and being frozen and not knowing what to do with yourself.
Yeah.
She's also so good at like taking something like these like beautiful looking characters and then when she moves to something grotesque it is like very grotesque.
Yeah.
Like the ability to like counter this like oddly like twisted and turned face
Yes.
with like how perfectly she can like contour things, like that's like such an interesting thing to look at. And then I even wanted to see if you saw some of this stuff when I was reading this digitally. I thought the paneling on the page after that is showing what's going on currently with a flashback that's like paralleling her past experiences
in the same panel.
But in the same
super
panel that's
cool.
like
Yeah.
slashed through, which again hack slash
Yeah.
Oh. But there are even parts of it where it's like you see dialogue bubbles, but you're not even like getting the dialogue.
Right.
Where you're like creeping more into the feelings of one than the other.
Yeah.
And I just thought the paneling of it was genius. I know that this creator is somebody who gets like stressed out when people tell her she's a genius.
Yeah.
One, because she's very young and it's like one of the first things you publish, everyone's like, it's brilliant. And you're like, is it brilliant?
Right.
Am I a fake? Like, can I ever meet, like, are people going to expect this from me for the rest of my life? I think she's such a talented person, and I love seeing that she can, like, flex her muscle and just, like, tell a fun story like this.
Yeah.
But I hope that she gains a lot of confidence from doing stuff like this because she's bringing something to the table here that I just think like you don't see a lot in in comic book sort of storytelling. And it's easy to say with like printed work on a page. It's kind of like everyone's done the like fourth wall breaking and the interesting formatting that you can do in a comic book to this point. And then you read something like this and it's this young person doing something that's just like
pretty unique.
Just like pretty unique and just like stuff you haven't seen. And it's just like anytime there's something that you haven't seen before in a comic book, as someone who owns almost 10,000 comic books, it is like a moment where you're like, you stop and you're just like, whoa, what?
Yeah.
Like, oh, it conveys such an interesting thing and just like no one's thought to do that before.
Yeah.
So cool.
Yeah, for sure. No, I totally agree. I think you can feel in this book that she's having fun writing it and creating it.
Yeah.
So the premise of the book, for those of you who don't know,
sorry, I went off a little bit there.
No,
I'm a big fan.
Yeah, no, totally. And she deserves it, right?
Yeah.
Like she totally does. The premise of the book, this is, I don't know what the word is. A midquill. It's not a prequel. It's not a sequel.
What a great term. This is happening more often. I think it wasn't the last Saw movie.
Was like a mid thing?
Yeah, it's like this one takes place like at like between like the second one and the third one.
Sure.
They've done Fast and Furious movies like that too.
Yeah, 3. Tokyo Drift.
Tokyo Drift. We need a term for that. Midquill is great.
A midquill.
I love it.
You heard it here first, folks. So this takes place the year after Cassie Hack has slain her first slasher and become a hunter, but before she is a tried and true knock 'em dead killer.
Yeah.
And she gets recruited over the course of this book by a veteran slasher hunter to go to a slasher hunter academy.
Yeah.
And meets the colorful cast of female characters that inhabit that school.
Yep.
And it felt so fun and fresh.
Yeah.
It felt like the first time I read Hack Slash.
Yeah, sure.
Like, you get this badass female chick paired up with this big hulking dude killing like the creatures out of your horror movies.
Yeah.
That, the first time I read it, was like, this fucking rules. And I love this, and I want to read all of it.
Yeah.
And now you get something that's like that with like a scoop of ice cream on top.
Yeah,
you know? Like,
right.
oh, it's a school full of these chicks. That fucking slaps.
Yeah, I think we're going to meet a lot of interesting characters. Like,
Yeah.
they teased like a handful that are probably going to be like the main few girls she ends up interacting with throughout the course of this, but even just like the small taste we got of them was fun because they're all like, you know what they do in these sort of like books where like an outsider gets brought in and has to like work with a new team, and then there's like the quirky friendly one and like the dark brooding one who you have to like earn their trust, and then you figure out their damage and it makes sense why they're such an asshole to you. Like we're doing a lot of like those things that are fun in a book like this.
But to your point, right, this all feels very like it's familiar enough, but through Zoe Thorogood's lens, it feels fresh and unique.
Right.
I would love to, I'm sure that this is going to be a limited, most Hack Slash stuff is, but I would love to see her do a sequel book that's like a true sequel, but that brings back these characters in grown-up
modern
form.
times. Or we bring it to the present day of Hack and Slash.
Yeah, exactly.
Not modern times. I say it like this is a period piece.
But we bring it back to the 1900s when Hack Slash takes place. But no, this book ruled. I would recommend this to anyone who's a fan of horror. I guess I didn't say that. This is definitely a horror book. Don't pick it up if you're squeamish. But I loved it.
Very cool. I love, there's a part at near the back where the some of the girls keep trying to get like a word in, and the woman who runs the academy,
keeps
her word bubbles entirely overlay their word bubbles.
Yeah.
You don't see a single word they speak.
Yeah.
And that's something I don't think I've ever seen either.
Yeah.
And I was just like, God, that's such a cool way to convey that people are like, but.
Yeah. It's just totally
It's
over
like,
it.
we don't need the like few words that get cut off. It's like you get it from the empty word bubble that's overlaid by the other stuff.
Yeah.
There's just like little things like that it's like, duh.
Right.
Like that makes so much sense. I've just never seen it. So
Yeah.
I had a really good time reading that.
Pick this book up specifically for the robot zombie dog.
Yeah,
Right?
the little pug was cool.
The little pug.
Yeah.
Did you read anything else?
No, that was it.
I know that you get your big bundle all at once.
I know.
And then you read it all, and then
Yep.
you get to report on 1,000 books.
Yep.
Well, I read 2 others this week. The big release for me, I think, was Beneath the Trees Where Nobody Sees. And my first thought when I got this book was a tweet that somebody did, some big creator, Tim Seeley or Mark Waid or somebody. And it was like, comic book names in the 60s, Spider-Man. Comic book names now, Beneath the Trees Where Nobody... It's like a book on the front. So I kind of just signed it up for the novelty of the name.
Yeah.
And then I heard the premise where it's like...
The cover is very striking.
The cover is extremely striking.
It looks like a Berenstain Bears book, but like...
It's like the world of
It's
Arthur.
creepy. Yeah.
Yeah, so there's these anthropomorphic animals that live in a society that is, everybody's friendly, and it's this little small town. And
Yeah, what's the little caterpillar guy town?
Caterpillar guy?
There's a little cat, no, not a caterpillar, like an inchworm that's in a apple. He drives an apple around.
Oh, the very hungry cat? No, he drives the apple. I know what you're talking about. I don't know the name of it.
Yeah.
Couldn't name it.
It's like a Richard Scarry thing.
Yeah. Horton Hears a Who. I don't know.
Yeah, sort of nears a who. Anyways, yeah, a little idyllic cartoon town.
Yeah. And as it goes on, we see this bear and we interact with her and we fall in love with her and her friends.
Yep.
And then she goes on this trip to the city, and the book starts to get a little grimier. The city's a little more rough and tumble.
Yep.
You see these anthropomorphic animals like doing 3-card Monty.
Well, can I say just the page you were on
Yeah.
is like beautiful. Like that transition is great of just like we've gone from like hunky dory, everyone is smiling, to like she's crossed the city line.
Yeah.
And just the change.
Deadpan.
Yeah, the change in her like smile to like flat mouth is ever so slight.
Yeah.
But it is incredibly effective.
For sure.
Of just like we're slipping into something weird and mundane here.
Yeah.
This was like it's like the moment when in Too Many Cooks,
Yes.
where you start to get the idea that something's like that it's gonna get like heinous. It's like it's just been clued.
When you get to like minute 3 and you're
Yeah.
like, this is going on for way too long. Yeah. Yeah. So you start to get these hints, the city's a little grimier. You get these like people kind of, doing their city life. And then you get to a point where our main character drugs and kidnaps this duck man from the city.
Ugh.
And then it really goes off the rails. And it turns out that our lovable bear character, is like a Dexter.
Yeah.
She's a very calculating, cold serial killer, and she has killed 43 people over the course of like 20 years or something.
Wow.
She's just been doing this over and over and over.
Yeah.
But the clincher of the book, so she kills this guy, chops him up, buries him in the woods.
Is he a rando?
He's a rando.
Okay.
She's got these rules, right? Just like Dexter.
He hasn't done anything good or bad.
Correct.
Dexter's thing is like, I'm killing heinous people.
Correct. she's got rules where she's like, I don't do this in my hometown.
Yeah.
Because it's going to draw attention to me. I don't pick anyone I know. I always get random people, whatever. So she does that. And then we get to, she's living her life, whatever, completely, without anybody knowing.
Yep.
And then we get to this parade scene that they've been talking about the rest of the comic. And it turns out that someone in the town has killed another someone in the town.
Oh.
So our main character's concern is people
they're going to start looking into a murder.
They're going to start looking into a murder.
See all the clues of her.
It's going to start pointing to me.
Yeah.
So the book is going to be her looking for this other serial killer in the town.
Got it.
But again, it all takes place in this like Richard Scarry kind of world.
Yeah. That's cool.
It's super cool.
I'll have to get my hands on this if it's not sold out.
This is going to be a really, really interesting book.
Yeah.
And that's the B cover. It looks like a storybook.
Yeah, that's rad.
Yeah. I don't know that I could recommend this book more.
How weird. Yeah, I love the concept of it. It's
Yeah.
just bizarre.
It's very bizarre. I don't know what the elevator pitch would be for this. I don't know how you like convince someone to sign on to this book.
And I'll say that like I don't always have a taste for things that are like, here's a cartoony character cursing a lot and doing hyper violent things.
Uh-huh.
Like to me, that can be like a gimmick and the sort of like humor of someone cute saying fuck.
Sure.
Isn't funny to me.
Yeah.
Or someone cute with like a dagger that's like, kill, I love blood. Like, that's not funny to me.
Yeah.
That's not what this is.
No.
I want to be clear, like, as you're flipping through it,
No,
it's very clear that it's not just like stunt, like cutesy gore.
Correct.
Like, isn't it funny that we're doing stuff that's like gory but cutesy? It's not that at all.
Correct. There is very much a separation between the cutesy town stuff
Yeah.
and the horrible murder stuff, and the terror that the book is trying to instill to you is the crossing over of those two things.
Cool, yeah.
The other thing I really want to point out about this book is it's written and illustrated by the same guy.
Wow. Double duty.
Which is insane,
Yep.
considering how clever this premise is
It's all like watercolor.
and how good the art is.
Yeah.
So Patrick Horvath,
Shout out.
whoever you are, hit me up, I guess. Let's be friends. So Beneath the Trees Where Nobody Sees, awesome book. Another IDW book.
Dude, IDW originals lately have been so good.
Fucking killer. This and
So good.
was Antarctica the Top Cow IDW like crossover?
Oh, I don't know.
I know it was Top Cow, but I think they teamed up with IDW to do it.
Bizarre.
But yeah, IDW has been absolutely knocking it out of the park.
Yeah.
And
we were talking a while back about like whether they were going to lean more into their purchased IP sort of comic books, and that's always a worry and a concern. But just like reminder, support books like this
for sure,
because IDW is just another place where we're going to get more opportunities for more cool people trying to tell weird stories.
Yeah.
If we support weird books like this one. So.
Yep. And never forget, 30 Days of Night came out of IDW. So
yeah.
Yeah. So Beneath the Trees Where Nobody Sees, go pick it up, turn it into a movie. And the last book I read, of course, everybody knew this was coming from me, Justice League versus Godzilla versus Kong.
Yeah. What a funny title.
Because as the old gypsy woman cursed me, I must read and watch any movie where a giant animal eats someone.
Yep.
So
it's got like a little legendary imprint on it.
yes, so this is an official crossover with the American Godzilla movies.
Yeah.
This takes place in the Monsterverse.
Oh, look at that.
Yeah.
We talked about the Monsterverse a while back.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I am jazzed about
All
it.
right, cool.
So the kicker here is that the Legion of Doom is trying to rob the Fortress of Solitude.
Uh-huh.
For some reason, on the night of
Villain reasons.
for villain reasons, on the night of Superman's engagement, he's proposing to Lois Lane.
Uh-huh.
So during this heist, our heroes intervene without Superman because he's earned his night off.
Yeah.
You know, proposing to his beau, and I think it's Green Lantern and Supergirl get transported to somewhere, and the Legion of Doom gets transported somewhere. Turns out the somewhere is the Monsterverse.
Okay.
They show up on Skull Island.
All right, yeah.
So they meet Kong like right away.
Yeah.
And Toy Master stole a gem of some variety from the Fortress of Solitude and makes a wish that these toys could come to his universe. And the toys that he wishes for are
End up in
Godzilla
Metropolis.
and Kong. Yeah. So Superman has to, you know, the end of the book is him staring down Godzilla, and the Legion of Doom staring down Kong. And what's awesome about it is Grodd is in the Legion of Doom.
Oh, yeah.
And starts worshiping Kong. He's like, my brother, you know, like doing all this. Oh, it's so good. I'm so good. And I'm so interested to see if like
Well, he can telepathically communicate, right? So can he communicate with...
He doesn't in the book, but that's what I'm hoping is that
he doesn't need to speak English, maybe, if you can...
Yeah, he can just ook and awk at him.
Yeah, do your mind communication.
I'm so interested to see if Grodd ends up, like, convincing Kong to help the Legion of Doom.
Right.
And, like, Superman earns the trust of Godzilla or something, and they like end up fighting each other,
which would be funny because I feel like, in my head anyway, King Kong is the more the I guess the character that you can have more empathy for.
Well, sure, he's the primate.
Yeah,
right.
Whereas Godzilla, it's just like he's a bad dinosaur. Get him out of here.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, I get the point that he's like a product of pollution and radioactivity and like, so it's our fault. Like Godzilla is like us reaping what we sowed.
Godzilla is our own hubris.
Yeah.
Yes. Correct.
But still, when he comes on land and starts killing things, it's just like, I'm like, let's kill this big dinosaur.
Right.
With King Kong, I'm like, don't hurt him. No. He doesn't know. He doesn't know.
He kidnapped that lady because she was nice to him.
Yeah. He's trying to find another lady who looks like her because she was such a sweetie.
Poor Kong.
Yeah.
But fuck that dinosaur.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. You know, you get what you have on the tin, right? Like, it's giant
funny
monsters fighting or whatever. I think I pre-ordered... They did not have it in my LCS, but I think I pre-ordered the soundbite cover. They had a cover where you open it
push a button
and like push a button and it makes Godzilla's roar.
That's funny.
It's incredible. So I'll say this: the one thing I really liked about this book, if this was a Marvel book, this would have been $7.
Yeah,
this was a $4.99.
Oh, that's pretty good. Yeah,
they're a big cheesy crossover.
Yeah, it looks big.
Yeah, so worth your money.
It's a plus size book.
I think it's a 6-issue mini or 5-issue or something. If this goes 12 issues, I'm not going to read all of them. I'll tell you that much.
Did you get these at Clint's?
Yeah.
They look kind of beat up.
Yeah.
That's a thing with... There's the annoying thing about Clint's for me.
Yeah.
Is that when you walk into this store called Clint's in Kansas City, they'll be like, hey, we're a collector's only store. We've never seen you before.
True.
If you touch something, you should be touching it to buy it. Because we have collectors in here who want things in mint condition, yada, yada. The mission statement is, I guess, works for me. you'll never leave a comic shop with worse comics in your life than when you leave Clint's.
Well, yeah, because the ceiling's falling apart and everything is covered in mold because
That's true.
Water damaged.
And then the people who check you out, or like used to check me out when I used to go there,
they beat them up.
they just manhandle your comic. It's almost like we make a point to be like, no one cares about these.
Yeah.
Like, hey, we buy them to read them, and it's like you're telling people you're like bullying people who come in who are young.
Yeah, you're chastising people for flipping through a comic.
Yeah, like people like your customers of the next generation. You're basically being like, don't come in here. And I hate that because the comic book community should be like welcoming and fun, and you should check stuff out, yada yada. I just helped Mike Russo, who used to go by the Budget King on this podcast, with a bunch of his books he wanted to send in for grading. And he's got a ton of books now that he got at Clint's a ways back that are worth like hundreds of dollars now. And I was going through his books with him, and we were opening them up. I was telling him what to press and what could just get graded. Almost none of his books were 9/8, and a lot of them were things that like he'd never read or only read once and bagged and board. And it's because he got them at this shop. Mm-hmm. At the same time I was shopping, I had changed to a shop in Overland Park, and my comics from that era are like pristine. And it doesn't make a difference for most comics, you know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
But then you come across like those 5 comics in a span of 5 years that it's just like, man, it kind of paid off that I was buying comics during this span, and I have Edge of Spider-Verse 2 that I bought for $3, and now it's worth, $500-$600. And I kept all those, all my comics are 9/6s and 9/8s. And I was just one after one that I was opening. I was like, nope. He pressed so many things that cost a fortune.
Yep.
And I'm hoping with some of the pressing that they can get the stuff out. There were some things that it was just like, God, is it color break? Or is it just like light reflecting off of like a little thing in the page that makes it look like white to me? Like, I don't know. But I felt so bad for him.
Well, the good part about Clint's is that they order everything.
Yeah.
If there's a cover, they have it.
They'll have it. That is true. If you miss something, chances are they're just going to be like loaded with it.
Correct.
On there. I remember I bought like that Moira, where you the book where you find out Moira's a mutant.
Powers.
It's like Powers 2 or House 2.
Yeah.
And that book like sold out, and I went there like 2 weeks later, and they still had copies of it, and I was like, shit, my copy was kind of beat up the first time around.
Yeah.
I'm gonna buy another copy, and so I've got 2 copies of that book. One's beat up because I guess I wouldn't have had to buy 2 copies if I hadn't have been shopping there. But I did the same thing with the Kamala Khan Miss Marvel #1.
Uh-huh.
I bought a copy. My Moon Knight #1.
Yep.
I bought a copy there. The guy at the counter, sweaty hands, black cover. It has just like fingerprints all over the white part, and then all the black got smeared off the cover.
Yep.
And so I bought another copy of that. They fucked up so many of my books, but I'm so anal about like having minty stuff that I'd either buy another copy or go to another shop and get another copy.
Yeah. I don't care that much.
Yeah.
So
I wish I was free of this burden. I wish I was maybe more like you.
Well, you have a nicer collection than I do.
It has its pluses sometimes.
Yeah. I've never had a book come back from grading in a 9/8.
Yeah.
There's the flip side, right? And I didn't buy my Moon Knight #1 at Clint's, so
yeah.
All right, that's all I got. Some pretty good stuff this week.
All right, right on. On the Patreon this week, we just kind of shot the shit about some other stuff we've been reading. I finished the Final Crisis Omnibus.
Yeah.
And kind of gave a little bit of a take on it. And we talked about other stuff I can't even remember. But always fun over there.
Good times.
For the cost of a comic book a month.
Patreon.com/First Issue Club.
Yeah, we try to do four episodes a month, or an extra episode a week.
Yep.
Over there.
We do. I posted. I did a review of a book that a indie publisher was kind enough to send along.
Yeah.
Mike always does unboxings when he gets his big shipments or CGC stuff. Greg and I are going to get our shit together and keep doing that 007. We're doing a retrospective on James Bond comics. So we've got a whole bunch of stuff over there. Check it out. As a reminder to everyone, we also post all these episodes in video version on YouTube.
I always forget to say that.
Yep.
We should do that at the beginning next time.
Probably. But if you want to go back and take a look at some of this stuff, see our shining happy faces, check us out on YouTube.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.